Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Greater Houston Partnership's 2014 annual meeting. Please welcome the President and CEO of the Greater Houston Partnership, Bob Harvey.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Please take your seats. Welcome to the Greater Houston Partnership 2014 annual meeting. And thank all of you for accommodating our change in schedule. I'll say quickly that I have an ME degree from Texas A&M, but the ME does not stand for meteorology. But I'm so glad that you came back a week later. This is an exciting day as we celebrate the partnership's 25th anniversary. It was 25 years ago that a group of committed business leaders, led by Bob Onstead, Charles Duncan, and Ben Love, brought together the Greater Houston Chamber of Commerce, the Houston Economic Development Council, and the Houston World Trade Association to form the Greater Houston Partnership. In fact, we're honored today to be joined by one of the founders, Charles Duncan. Charles, would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you, Charles. Over the past 25 years, you, the membership of the partnership, have worked hard to create the Houston that we all enjoy today. We'll celebrate GHP's 25 years of accomplishments throughout today's event, even while we reflect back on our work from last year and look ahead to our plans to continue moving our region forward. At this time, I would like to invite Senior Pastor Jim Birchfield of First Presbyterian Church, Houston, on the stage to lead today's invocation.
Thank you, Bob. Good afternoon. Would you join me in prayer? Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks this day for the opportunity to gather together as members and friends of the Greater Houston Partnership to celebrate what has been accomplished over the last 25 years and to dream about what might be done in the next. We thank you, God, for the diversity of our city and for the diversity of the gifts and the talents and the stories that are gathered within this partnership. And we pray that you would unite these diverse partners under a common vision and that you would fuel them with an uncommon passion for this city. As they work to create jobs, prod them to confront injustice. As they come together to seek solutions, would you push them to promote kindness and faith? As they celebrate their successes, encourage us to walk also in humility. We ask your blessing on the staff and the leadership who will serve this coming year and this partnership. We ask, Lord, for you to continue to renew their spirits and fill them again and again each day with a clarity of vision and a relentless hope in the future of this city. Finally, we ask your blessing now on the food that we will share together, the fellowship at our tables, and the ongoing gift of hope for this city that is the Greater Houston Partnership. May it all be to your glory, Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Birchfield. As we begin today's event, I'd like to ask you to turn your attention to the screens for a short video acknowledging our executive partners, sponsors, elected officials, and consular corps.
Ladies and gentlemen, the generous support of our members is essential to the success of the Greater Houston Partnership and allows us to continue our work of making Houston one of the world's best places to live, work, and build a business. Please join me in thanking our executive partners, AT&T, BP Americas, Inc., CenterPoint Energy, Chevron, ExxonMobil Corporation, JP Morgan Chase, Reliant and NRG Company, and Shell Oil Company. Today's annual meeting gold level sponsors are Bracewell and Giuliani LLP, Bud Light Silver Eagle Distributors, Southwest Airlines, and Cisco Corporation. Our annual meeting silver level sponsors are CALPINE Corporation, Crown Castle, Spectra Energy, TD Industries, Wells Fargo, and Westlake Chemical Corporation. Our annual meeting bronze level sponsors include Air Liquide, Amagi Bank, Andrews KURTH LLP, Cadence Bank, Clear Channel Outdoor, Comerica Bank, Dannenbaum Engineering Corporation, Deloitte LLP, Direct Energy, Ernst & Young LLP, Haynes & Boone LLP, Jones Lang LaSalle Americas Inc., Kroger, Lock Lord, ODEBRECHT Environmental, BRASKEM, PwC, Texas Children's Hospital, TOSHIBA International Corporation, TRUSTMARK National Bank, University of Houston, and Whitley Penn. Centerpiece Underwriter, BB&T, Folder Underwriter, TDECU, your credit union. Program Underwriter, HSBC Bank, USA, NA. Networking Cafe Underwriter, Shape Up Houston. Supporting Organization, Houston Airport System. Also thanks to our staging partner, JSAV. And our production partner since 2006, Vision Production Group. The Greater Houston Partnership would like to express sincere appreciation to the members of Houston's Consular Corps for everything they do to establish positive foreign relations between the Houston region and their respective countries. Their leadership is invaluable to building and maintaining the international networks necessary to propel our region to becoming one of America's next great global cities. The Greater Houston Partnership would also like to acknowledge our elected officials, the men and women who represent Houston at the local, state, and federal level. We look forward to continuing to work with all of our elected officials in 2014. Please join us in thanking all of our sponsors, members of the Consular Corps, and our elected officials for all they do for our region.
And now will all elected officials and members of the Consular Corps who are present here today please stand and let us recognize you. Elected officials and members of the Consular Corps, thank you. Thank you all again for all you do to support the partnership and for your many efforts to make Houston a great global city. I'd also like to take a moment to thank those who held key leadership positions at the partnership in 2013. With the men and women who served on the executive committee and/or the board of directors of the partnership in 2013, please stand so we may recognize you. And now, before we continue with today's program, we'll take a brief intermission to allow you to enjoy your lunch. I'll see you in just a few minutes. Thank you. As the partnership enters its 25th anniversary year, we're excited to talk about our future. But this occasion also gives us a chance to pause and reflect back on all this organization has accomplished over these years. With a spirit of civic pride and dedication, the leaders of Houston's business community have convened at the partnership to solve our region's most pressing issues and help create the Houston that we all enjoy today. I'd like to direct your attention to the video screens as we celebrate our collective success over the past 25 years.
A great city doesn't just happen. great city grows from daring minds and innovative thinking, from courageous acts and indomitable spirit, from enthusiastic citizens and generous supporters. In 1836, when the Allen brothers landed on the banks of the Buffalo Bayou, they sought a location where they could begin building a great center of government and commerce. That center became Houston, and the drive toward greatness was born. Today, Houston is on a monumental roll, thanks in very large part to a union that began 25 years ago. That's when our city's three major business organizations, the Greater Houston Chamber of Commerce, the Houston Economic Development Council, and the Houston World Trade Association, joined forces to form the Greater Houston Partnership. Since its inception in 1989, the Greater Houston Partnership has worked alongside the business community to make Houston the world's best place to live, work, and build a business. And over the past 25 years, we've achieved many a success. During that time, Houston's population has grown from 3.6 million to 6.3 million. Our gross area product has reached $480.6 billion. The number of jobs has grown from 1.6 million to 2.8 million. And the Greater Houston Partnership, along with area businesses, has worked to make Houston a globally connected city. In fact, traffic through the Houston airport system has more than doubled in the past 25 years to an astounding 50.3 million passengers annually. In 1989, the Greater Houston Partnership helped justify the need to deepen and widen the ship channel, helping the Port of Houston to become the 14th largest port in the world. We helped rally leaders of the business community to save NASA's International Space Station, resulting in a $177 million annual impact on our region and showing the world a promising future in space. Together, we helped deliver critical votes to pass the North American Free Trade Agreement, a role that was acknowledged by President Bill Clinton. Alongside community leaders, the Greater Houston Partnership spearheaded efforts to establish the Houston Sports Authority, leading to the construction of Minute Maid Park, Reliance Stadium, Toyota Center, and BBVA Compass Stadium. Houston is an international hub, hosting 67 consulates in 1989, which has grown to 94 today, giving us the third largest consular corps in the country. We established the Center for Houston's Future to engage diverse leaders to solve tough problems. Together with our city's business leaders, the Greater Houston Partnership launched Opportunity Houston, an aggressive marketing campaign that has helped create more than 530,000 regional jobs, attracted $60 billion in capital investment, and increased foreign trade by $120 billion. We supported funding for the Grand Parkway, vital to Houston's growth and mobility. We supported competition in the Houston airline market, resulting in the introduction of international flights from Hobby Airport. And in keeping with our mission of making Houston one of the best places to live, the partnership worked with leaders of the community to support the Bayou Greenways Initiative, which will improve green space and recreational facilities, as well as create an integrated system of bayou trails and parks. We launched the Regional Workforce Development Task Force to address the challenges regional employers face in finding talent to fill middle skills occupations. Over the past 25 years, the Greater Houston Partnership has played a leading role in building a global city of epic possibilities. To all members of the partnership, thank you. As thrilling and fruitful as the last 25 years have been, there's no more exciting time to grab the reins with us as we lead our region in becoming a great global city. Day after day, year after year, decade after decade, the partnership is working to make Houston the world's best place to live, work, and build a business.
Well, as you can see, the partnership has a rich history of leadership, and I thank all of our members, our past chairmen, and other leaders who have gotten us to this point. Thank all of you for your service. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce the 2014 Chairman of the Greater Houston Partnership, Paul Hobby. Paul, as you know, is a native Houstonian and is the managing and founding partner of Genesis Park. Over the last decade, Genesis Park has executed a number of successful communications, technology, and energy transactions, including Alpheus Communications, Caprock Services, FuelQuest, and Red Arrow Energy. Prior to Genesis Park, Paul conceived a technology strategy for integrating media operations through improved information technology. That company, CALPINE JDS Systems, became the largest provider of media software and services in the world. Paul has served on a number of boards, a number of public and private boards, including NRG, Eagle Global Logistics, Stewart Title, Coastal Bank, and Amegy Bank of Texas, among others. Paul is a graduate of the University of Virginia and the University of Texas School of Law, where he has served as an adjunct faculty member and has been honored as an outstanding young alumnus. For the last 3 years, Paul has served as chairman of the Houston branch of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas and currently serves as vice chair of the Texas Ethics Commission. He has previously served as chairman of the Texas General Services Commission and the Texas Business Hall of Fame. I'm very much looking forward to working with Paul in 2014, and if his year as vice chairman is any indication, he'll be an impactful, enthusiastic leader, a great spokesman for the partnership, and a key player in shaping GHP's new strategic direction. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Paul Hobby.
Thank you, Bob, for that gracious introduction. I'm excited. I'm so honored to be the next chairman of the partnership. Before we get too far, however, I'd like to pause and thank our outgoing chairman, David McClanahan. Over the years, hold your applause just for a second. I know it's hard. Over the years, David has put in an enormous amount of time and effort into this organization, but most especially this year as chairman. The partnership had made tremendous strides in 2013 under David's leadership. In addition to his leadership of the partnership through the legislative session, David worked diligently to align our work with Houston's key priorities through a multi-year strategic planning process about which you will hear more later. This has brought a new energy and a vigor to everything we are doing. Personally, I'd like to thank David for his time and his assistance in helping me prepare to fill the chairman's role. David, on behalf of the partnership and the Houston region, thank you for all you have done. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome David McClanahan to the stage to receive the Bob Onstead Award.
Thank you, Paul. This is a really very special recognition, and I'm really honored and humbled to receive it. It's been a privilege this past year to serve as chairman of the Greater Houston Partnership. This is a very unique organization whose members are dedicated to the success and prosperity of the Houston region. To play a more active role in GHP activities has just really been a gratifying experience to me. Now, through the hard work of the partnership staff, as well as the members of all of our committees at GHP, I think we had a very successful year. In particular, I want to acknowledge the progress that was made in rethinking the role that GHP can play in addressing and shaping the pressing issues of the region. Bob Harvey has done a terrific job in redefining GHP's role as a convener of key stakeholders to tackle the priorities of our area. Bob has also embraced the development of a multi-year agenda led by the President and CEO. We also had a very successful year in Austin during the legislative session. Lily Ann McLean led a focused staff effort, I think more focused than ever, and the partnership achieved its highest legislative priorities. We initiated 2 regional task forces. One was focused on workforce development and one on Houston's image. The work of these 2 task forces laid the foundation for even further development in these 2 key areas during the coming year. Now, I could go on, but suffice it to say that I think we had a very productive year. I want to thank the GHP staff. They're a very talented staff. I want to thank them for their commitment to achieving our priorities and for the support they give and provide to the many GHP committees and its members. I also want to thank the committee chairman who helped guide the efforts of these committees. As you know, most of the hard work of the partnership is accomplished through committees. I am really excited about the future of GHP and the role it can play in addressing the key issues for this region. I've seen Bob and Paul's agenda for the year, and I think they have a great agenda lined up for the coming year, and I'm excited about the role of GHP. So thank you once again for allowing me to serve this past year. It has been a very special privilege. I'd now like to bring back your 2014 chairman, Paul Harvey. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, David. Before I deliver my remarks, we have 3 important pieces of business to conduct today. The first is the election of new board members. Nominees were selected from the membership of the Greater Houston Partnership. Our nominating committee was then responsible for narrowing the list. Each member company, as you know, is entitled to 1 vote in the board election. A proxy form with the list of 2014 nominees was sent to each partnership member company. Proxies were submitted by those who could not join us this afternoon. The list of nominees is up here behind me on the screen, and we'll scroll as I speak. I would like to ask those members of the 2014 slate of board nominees to please stand and be recognized, scrutinized, whatever word you want to use. We're going to do a voice vote. All those in favor of the nominees as listed, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the nominees stand confirmed. Please join me in welcoming the new directors of the Greater Houston Partnership. Get ready to work, y'all. The second item of business is to elect our vice chairman and secretary for this year. According to our bylaws, the vice chairman and secretary will advance to the chairman's role next year. I am so pleased to announce that Gina Luna has been nominated to serve as vice chairman and secretary. As many of you know, Gina is the chairman of J.P. Morgan Chase in the Houston region and chief executive officer of middle market banking. She has held several other leadership positions in the partnership, including chair of our member services committee, co-chair of the regional task force committee on workforce. Those of us in favor of Gina's nomination, please enthusiastically say aye. Aye. Those opposed, I just defy you to say nay. The ayes have it. Our nominee is confirmed. Please join me in welcoming Gina Luna as our vice chair of the 2014 Greater Houston Partnership. Finally, I would like to acknowledge Jody Giles. And Jody is a longtime friend of mine and a longtime friend of yours, and I just defy you to think of Jody without smiling, because I've tried it. It's impossible. Don't worry about it. He has had longstanding service to the Greater Houston Partnership, including service as board chair in 2005. At our December board meeting, the board of directors moved to honor Jody with director emeritus status. within the partnership. Would you please join me in congratulating Jody for his service to GHP and the region? Thank you. As I begin my remarks, I first want to thank my family for being here today. To my wife, Janet, and my daughter, Grace, thank you for supporting all my endeavors with constant smiles and endless patience. I'm also grateful to be joined today by my father, Bill Hobby. He and my mother, thank you. He and my mother, Diana Hobby, never talked about public service to their children. They simply led by example. I'm also grateful that my mother-in-law, Marilyn McDonald, could be with us here today. Thank you again. Thank you. Now, will the rest of you allow me the temerity to suggest that as members of the Greater Houston Partnership, we find ourselves in a special time, in a special place. It's a special time because we are all privileged to live in the age of cities, a time when we no longer think about international trade from a country-to-country perspective, but rather as a metro-to-metro affair, with each megacity competing and collaborating in the global marketplace. Sociologists, economists, historians, they agree on this concept I'll call metrolocity, because sovereign governments have simply forfeited their leadership position. This is a sad story you know well, so I will not dwell on it. But cities in general, and Houston specifically, must confront the urgency of the day's events and fashion solutions in real time. Shutdowns and political spin cycles just aren't a luxury cities can afford. Against that global backdrop, consider also that Greater Houston is a very special place, and not just by my estimation. As you see to the screens to my left and right, the world is noticing, no, the screen behind me, the world is noticing that Houston is on a roll. Ponder for a second what's all on there. Best city in America, next great global city, coolest city in America, best city for jobs. Wow, wow. There's only one thing to say, and that's wow. People from around the world are voting with both their feet and their investment dollars, not just because we are the energy capital of the world, but by necessity and circumstance, the engineering capital of the world. And increasingly, Dr. Robbins, the biomedical capital of the world. What those industries have in common is that projects in space or in deep water or inside the genome do not live by rhetoric. They live by execution. They live by innovation and by solution-oriented behaviors. So I declare proudly what you already know. This is the most capable city on earth, a title we re-earn every day. In 1946, thank you. In 1946, my grandmother, with tongue firmly in cheek, exclaimed, a little famously, that she thought she would like Houston when they get it finished. She knew that our urban DNA incorporates creative destruction. She also meant that Houston can be an enigma even to those of us who claim to know it well. Our city is simply a wondrous organism. Its cells always replicating, churning out goodwill, growth, and optimism mixed with, perhaps, at times a little insecurity. If I can generalize a bit, Houstonians are simply amazed by the sheer resilience of this place that we love. In that vein, it's important to say, as the video just did, that Houston's not meant to be. Houston happened on purpose. There is no Houston exceptionalism. There's only you. There's only us working to build this great city. And what's so refreshing to me personally is that as we're expanding at astonishing speed, no one even pauses to take credit, not even the Greater Houston Partnership. The video we saw highlighted many of the works and the partnerships that the projects that the partnership has assisted with in the last 25 years. But we don't claim solitary credit, and no one does, because Houston is always an us exercise, not a me exercise. That brief video, however, can't capture the hundreds of thousands of other hours that you, the business community, has devoted to make this city a great place to be. To all of the members, past chairman, partnership, friends, partners of the partnership, for all you have done and continue to do, let me applaud you. Thank you. Now, when you're on a big roll, the world tends to notice. And those of us who get asked by studious outsiders to explain Houston have had to move past the usual simplistic platitudes. Of course we are open. Of course we are welcoming and generous and affordable and tolerant of risk and failure. All these things are true. But there are some more structural truths that we can teach a world that wants to learn something from the virtuous cycle that is Houston. We explain that with roughly 200 people moving here every day, the economic development function of the partnership is becoming more complicated than a simple altar call for prospective employers. Our scope of work is broadening to include important issues such as workforce development, selective talent attraction, and Houston's positive awareness among recent college graduates. So the messages are narrowing as the scope of our interest expands. This, of course, adds a new layer of complexity to the partnership, but we can handle it. In the short term, we must target and attract high-wage industries. Long term, we must lead with our young, burgeoning demographics, which of course means strong families and better education to ensure a skilled, flexible workforce for a future that will demand it. By the way, I'd like to pause quickly to acknowledge the Houston Independent School District for winning the Broad Prize, an award given to a large urban school district that has made the greatest improvement in student achievement. This honor is well-deserved and speaks well of our progress in educating our own. Terry Greer, good on you. We're with you. Once thought of peripheral issues to overall economic development, these softer items like public schools, charter schools, childhood obesity, parks and bike trails are now seen as critical to the right kind of long-term growth for our region. These amenities provide another interesting distinction that we can tell to those who study our formula for success. In Houston, we expect a lot of sweat and a lot of money from the private and philanthropic communities, and we get it. The public sector certainly leads where it must. Generally, this means in public safety and in infrastructure. But in many areas, in performing and visual arts, in medical research, in parks, public and higher education, clinical health care, quality of life, the public sector readily embraces an enabling role. And that is not typical behavior for governments in other cities. So thank you to our elected officials, Judge Emmett, for allowing Houston to be the kind of decentralized meritocracy of ideas and eclectic civic visions. Thank you. But in our moment of praise and prosperity, we know that rest or arrogance or complacency is foolishness. We never believed our bad press, so we ought not to believe our good press too much either. In San Antonio, they remember the Alamo. In Houston, we remember the bumper sticker. Lord, and Pastor Birchfield, I'm not blaspheming, I'm just reading the bumper sticker. Lord, give me just one more oil boom, and I promise not to waste it. Today, like the first moon landing in 1969, or the medical revolution in organ transplantation in the 70s, Houston technology has changed everything, this time creating an American energy renaissance. Thank you, George Mitchell. Washington has yet to grasp the enormity of the resulting shale dividend and its economic, monetary, and geopolitical implications, but at the partnership, these are the big topics we confront every day. So, what may loom ahead that gets our attention? Well, some of that answer is obvious. Problems born of prosperity always include traffic, stress on subsurface and other infrastructure, shortages in certain segments of our skilled workforce. These are issues the partnership is already addressing. But there is a more insidious answer as well, because visible problems tend to get worked on, but the invisible, systemic ones are harder to confront because they are owned by no one, and they defy sober, unified analysis because of their complexity. Primary among those opaque, invisible issues in this community is the rising embedded fixed cost in the life of everyone and everything here, and that is property taxes. Because they are a levy on the ownership of private assets that affect our competitiveness for any good or service we market to the outside world, the partnership has to be involved. When our Greater Houston Partnership economic development folks sit down with companies thinking about relocating to Houston, those prospects generally enter with the notion that Houston has a low cost of doing business, and this is relatively true. But when they study the matrix of various tax rates, their enthusiasm about the no personal income tax column is quickly dampened when they see the ad valorem bottom line. At GHP, we value the role of government, and we absolutely understand the need for an adequately funded public sector. But ad valorem taxes are potentially the invisible toxin in our local economy. They can constitute a significant drag on small businesses, whether in the form of higher rent or tax on equipment and improvements that generally commence before any revenue is generated. In practice, this tax on real property and improvements is shared by over 1,000 taxing authorities in our region and has been insensitive to rising values and rising receipts. The pattern has been that when one taxing authority gives up a penny, another one tends to grab it. Here are a couple of quick examples of where the property tax conversation needs to occur. With the advent of the Affordable Care Act and the associated income tax increase, the federal government is dramatically expanding its role in indigent and low-income health care. Doesn't that suggest an opportunity to rethink what has been a local expense funded by local property taxes? Secondly, property taxes were once a subsidy from the mature who tend to own assets in favor of the young who tend to need education. But now this healthy intergenerational wealth transfer is threatened by underfunded public pension plans, whose future obligations may upset that traditional reinvestment cycle. In a few minutes, Bob will share more details about Greater Houston Partnership's priorities for 2014 and beyond. I can tell you, however, that on my watch, as we consider GHP's broad priority of ensuring an effective and efficient state and local government, we will be taking a forward-looking, data-driven approach to the subject of local taxation, simply because there is no one else to convene these important conversations. So while I promise no particular success, I do promise that GHP will not shrink from the hard conversations. For that, we will inevitably attract some criticism, but such is the price of relevance. Before I close, let me ask each of us to ask ourselves the more personal question. What wise, important little things can each of us do when the economic sun is shining to improve this city for the next generation of Houstonians? Like repairing that curb cut on your street that's been overlooked for years, like tutoring a child who needs you, or improving a neighborhood park, or crafting a new, unique puzzle piece of civic infill that subtly, cumulatively enriches the urban fabric. These small things GHP can't do realistically, but you, as the body of this community and the face of GHP, can. And those small things will prove sticky for good jobs long after commodity prices cycle down. F. Scott Fitzgerald said once that a sign of intelligence is to be able to hold opposing thoughts effortlessly. Somehow, without central planning or strong government, the broad, unspoken, unruly sometimes social contract that is Houston seems to hold many thoughts, opposing thoughts, effortlessly. We are graciously Southern, but we are wonderfully diverse. In fact, because we embrace immigration rather than fear it, the word minority in Houston is no longer a useful term. We are right to work, but we are right to learn as well. We are shameless capitalists, but we are shamelessly generous to the least of those among us. A famous Houstonian, Governor Jim Hogg, said something I like a lot. He said, "Beautiful cities create beautiful citizens." I think he would agree that the reverse is also true. So our sense of place has always been a sense of people, in a special place, at a special time. I would tell you that the best is yet to come, but as Greater Houstonians, you know that already. Thank you and good afternoon. And now I would like to welcome back to the podium the President and CEO of the partnership, Bob Harvey.
Well, thank you, Paul. As many of you know, I've been in this role at the partnership now for about 16 months, and I frankly can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this opportunity. The GHP members are some of the most capable and committed citizens I've ever met, and I'm truly grateful for the strong support and the encouragement you've given me this entire 16 months. And now some of you may wonder why I've been smiling so much today, and the answer is simple. Last week, our new Chief Economic Development Officer started work. After a one-year search, Bob Pertiera has moved here from the Metro Atlanta Chamber, where he's been a key player in their economic development program for over 10 years. I hope all of you will support Bob's efforts to move our economic development and trade program forward under the banner of Opportunity Houston. And by the way, Opportunity Houston 2.0 fundraising now stands at $21 million, with a near-term goal of getting to $25 million and our long-term goal of reaching $40 million. Thanks to everyone who invested in the Opportunity Houston campaign in 2013, and I'll call out particularly GE, which pledged $3 million to the campaign in July. Thank you. Opportunity Houston continues to make a huge difference in our region. Last year alone, the region added 82,000 jobs, raising our cumulative total since 2005, when we began Opportunity Houston, to just over 544,000 net new jobs added to the region. Our goal has always been to reach 600,000 jobs by the end of 2014, and you can see we're very well positioned to reach that goal. Suffice it to say, 2013 was quite the eventful year. I'd like to echo Paul's comments and thank David McClanahan for his tremendous leadership this year at the partnership. In addition to his public leadership role throughout the legislative session in Austin, David helped guide the organization through a year of introspection and change. When David and I kicked off the annual meeting in this very same venue a year ago, we asked the community to join GHP as we imagined the city of the next 25 years. The conversations that David and I had throughout the year with leaders of the partnership and other community leaders revealed a remarkable consensus. Simply put, people said, Houston's a great city, but it could be even better. And as Stephen Kleinberg has reported, Houstonians truly believe that Houston is a better place to live than just about any other city in the country. We also learned that people find this to be a very welcoming city, a remarkably diverse city, and a city of extraordinary opportunity. Houstonians recognize we have an economy second to none, and they're pleased with the progress that has been made, particularly in recent years, to establish a quality of life in Houston that is on par with our great economy. At the same time, Houstonians have a strong consensus on the principal challenges ahead. As Paul stated a moment ago, Houstonians are not inclined to wait for the federal government to get its act together to forge a path forward. It is the era of the metropolitan region. Figure out what's needed, decide how to pay for it, and then get it done. We also found a strong consensus on the role of GHP. Houstonians see GHP taking the lead on regional economic development and trade, as well as on policy and advocacy at the local, state, and federal levels. They also see the partnership convening not just our membership, but also diverse leaders from the community to address the key issues of the day. A perfect example of this convening leadership in action is the Regional Workforce Development Task Force that we launched in May, led by Gina Luna, our newly elected vice chair, and Bruce Culpepper from Shell. The task force was established to confront the shortage of trained workers to fill the middle-skilled jobs, those jobs that require some training beyond high school but less than a baccalaureate degree. This task force brought together top executives from our key industry sectors, as well as leaders from our community colleges, our school districts, employment and training firms, and social service organizations. 79 people in all served on the task force. This task force will issue an action plan in the next few weeks that calls for an employer-led, industry sector-specific initiative centered around our 9 community college systems. Another great example of this convening role in action is the Houston Image Task Force, convened by the partnership as part of our Opportunity Houston program and chaired by Jamie Roots of the Houston Texans. This effort brought together individuals from across the region who, in their own areas of focus, work to promote Houston to the outside world. Working with Avalanche Consulting out of Austin and the Houston-based MMI agency, the task force explored internal and external perceptions of the region, particularly focusing on the C-suite executives who make decisions for investing in Houston and the young professionals deciding where to begin their careers. What we found was not all that surprising. Outside perceptions of Houston reflect a very stilted image of our city. Sum it up, great place to work, wouldn't necessarily want to live there. These perceptions were often based on little or no direct exposure to Houston and differed markedly from the objective reality. What has emerged from the Image Task Force is a new brand positioning for our region that highlights Houston's diversity, its economic and cultural vitality, and its limitless possibilities. A city where everyone can create their own future. So if we take the 3 pillars of activity of the partnership, economic development and trade, policy and advocacy, and community leadership, what binds it all together is the commitment of the partnership to have impact, the kind of positive, sustained impact that moves Houston forward. So to that end, we recently made a number of changes to the partnership's dues and committee structure. We've created intentional, focused agendas for each of our economic development and public policy committees to ensure that they're impact-focused. And we've also created new programming to ensure that we are providing the opportunities for engagement that all of our members are seeking. You may have attended one of our new council meetings, a structure we're rolling out to better provide opportunities for networking and information sharing around specific topics such as education, energy, quality of life, and a number of other topics. Our first few council meetings have attracted excellent speakers, good crowds, and great discussion, and I encourage all of you to attend a council meeting in the coming months. As another part of last year's Imagine discussion, we sought the pro bono assistance of McKinsey & Company to explore the issues that surfaced in our interviews with community leaders. Our intention was to reach a consensus on the key issues facing the region, the issues which GHP should focus on or perhaps look to others to take the lead. Our analysis suggested 9 broad priorities for Houston. And of course, it could be said that 9 is too many to call them priorities, so maybe we should simply call them imperatives, things we must address in some order and in some fashion if we're to make Houston the great city that it has the potential of becoming. So what are the 9? Let me step through them quickly. The first 3 relate to economic development and trade, the next 4 to the building blocks of constructing a great city, and the last 2 to the intangible side of our community. Now, number 1 may be so obvious that it hardly needs to be said, but with energy broadly defined accounting for 35% of the Houston economy and 70% of the tradable portion of the Houston economy, we must do everything in our power to maintain and extend our position as the energy capital of the world. Other cities are trying to grab pieces of the puzzle, whether it's Boston trying to grab the big data piece or San Francisco the renewables piece. We must continue to compete to secure our future in energy. The second priority was simply the complement of the first. Beyond energy, no one segment of the Houston economy particularly stands out from the rest. So the second priority of Houston is to identify 1 or 2 additional tradable sectors to get behind as a community. Among the candidates, I would suggest we would include life sciences, building on the research and clinical strengths of the Texas Medical Center institutions. Another candidate would be advanced manufacturing, leveraging our resurgence as one of the country's great manufacturing centers. And a third might be information technology, particularly the information technology applications springing up around smart devices and big data. And I'm sure there are other candidates, but the point is we need to get behind 1 or more industry clusters beyond energy that have the potential for competing on the world stage. The third priority is to expand Houston's position as a global trading and logistics hub. We have the opportunity today to leverage our strategic location and our fantastic port, airport, rail, and highway assets to form a logistics hub connecting Texas, the Midwest, northern Mexico with the rest of the world. We passed New York City last year as the country's leading merchandise exporting metro, largely driven by energy commodities and big-ticket equipment exports. We can do even better if we turn our small to medium-sized businesses into exporting engines. Now, as I said, the next four priorities deal with the building blocks, the tangible assets of our region, and leading that list is infrastructure, an issue stemming in part from the more than 300,000 jobs we've added just in the last 4 years. We must address the rapidly mounting congestion, transit, and roadway issues in our area. I can tell you that when I arrived in this role 16 months ago, the issue of transportation hardly came up in conversation. And I would tell you today that I almost never have a conversation where it doesn't surface. I believe it will take a unique Houston-specific solution to address this mounting problem, one that will involve highway, roadway, and transit elements, and a solution that respects both the increasing densification of our urban core as well as the continued growth of our outer suburbs, both as residential and employment centers. And it's frankly going to take more resources. It's going to take more money than we currently have allocated to transportation. So we at the partnership look forward to working with the Houston-Galveston Area Council, Metro, and others to address this issue. Of course, we must also keep up with our other infrastructure needs as well. The Port of Houston, our airports, and our rail system must all keep pace. The fifth priority is talent. How can Houston better develop and attract the talent we need in order to compete with the rest of the world? In addition to the workforce development issue that I've mentioned and that others have, we must build on the progress made in the last legislative session to transform our K-12 public education system into one that produces college and career-ready high school graduates. We must also address the fact that too many children enroll in kindergarten ill-equipped in terms of language and social skills, a deficit that contributes to a lack of reading skills in third grade and a general lack of success in middle school and beyond. At the other end of the education pipeline, the region should address its capacity deficit in higher education. You may not realize that our region produces fewer baccalaureate degrees per capita than any other top 10 metro in the country. We offset this by attracting record numbers of college graduates from other regions, but we can do better in expanding our local community college, university, and graduate school enrollments. The sixth priority is to continue working to make Houston an even more attractive place to live. With the support of the Kinder Foundation and leadership from individuals such as Ed Wolf and groups such as the Buffalo Bayou Partnership, Houston has made huge strides in the past decade in terms of parks and green space. Who isn't excited about Discovery Green and the Bayou Greenway Initiative? What remains to be done, however, is to stitch Houston's many amenities together into an accessible collection of great neighborhoods, attractive streetscapes, and dynamic urban centers. And as someone postulated to me recently, how can we say we offer a great quality of life if we can't draw visitors to Houston? The seventh priority is to promote efficient and effective state and local government. Houston and the state of Texas generally enjoys a great reputation as great places to do business, but we must ensure that state and local government remain responsive and that they keep pace with our growth. This means looking for ways to find additional synergies between city and county government, as we're doing with the new intake center. It means addressing growing concerns about streets and drainage and public safety. And it means staying abreast of local fiscal issues such as property taxes, as Paul mentioned, and the key cost drivers of local government such as employee pensions. As I said, the last two priorities are a bit less tangible in nature, but important nonetheless. Priority 8 is to address Houston's image, particularly with respect to the two audiences who tend to have similar misperceptions about Houston, the corporate executives who make the investment and relocation decisions, and the young professionals and entrepreneurs choosing where to begin their careers. I've already mentioned the Houston Task Force. Stay tuned, the Houston Image Task Force, so stay tuned, and we'll be seeking your input and support. Our ninth and final priority, and one that informs the other 8, is our commitment to ensure inclusivity and opportunity for all Houstonians. Our collective prosperity must translate into individual opportunity if we're to have a healthy and livable city. I don't doubt we can make a habit of including all parts of our community in our efforts to envision and create the great city of the future. But it takes a conscious effort. Now, just so you know, the partnership continues to advocate for comprehensive immigration reform. I personally don't see how we can talk about inclusivity and opportunity if it doesn't include roughly 1 in 10 of our neighbors and a like percentage of our workforce. I want to thank Charles Foster and our Immigration Task Force for their leadership in Washington as we work to find a solution to this complex issue. So there you have it, 9 priorities, or call them 9 imperatives, for the partnership to undertake. It clearly represents more than a year's agenda, but I know we can make a positive impact on multiple fronts through your active engagement. So thanks to the efforts of those who came before us, including the founders of the partnership 25 years ago. We enjoy the benefits of living and working in this great city. As busy as we all are, we simply must take the time to lay the foundation for the next quarter century and beyond. We owe it to our children and our grandchildren and the many thousands of Houstonians who will be drawn to this great metropolis. So on behalf of the board and staff of the partnership, I would like to thank all of you for your continued support of GHP and for being here today. Please stay engaged in 2014 and have a great afternoon. Thank you very much.